The breaking point. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through the towering crystalline doors. Her heels clicked against the polished obsidian floor, each step echoing like a countdown timer in the vast amphitheater. Around her, representatives from 47 different species whispered in their native tongues, creating a symphony of alien discourse that would have been fascinating under different circumstances. Today, however, Sarah felt nothing but cold, calculated fury. "Ah!" The human representative arrives, announced Counselor Vex, his serpentine form coiled behind the elevated podium. His voice dripped with the kind of condescension that made Sarah's jaw clench. How punctual. Though I suppose punctuality is all your species can manage these days. Sarah's smile never wavered. 20 years of diplomatic training had taught her to wear pleasantries like armor. "Good morning, Counselor Vex. I trust you're having a wonderful day discussing the systematic genocide of peaceful civilizations. How refreshing." A ripple of uncomfortable laughter swept through the chamber. The Zephyrian delegates shifted their crystalline bodies, creating tiny chiming sounds. The Morgani representatives clicked their mandibles in what Sarah had learned was their equivalent of nervous laughter. Now, Counselor Brack rumbled from his massive stone-like form. "Let us maintain civility. We are here to discuss the recent misunderstanding regarding the human colony of New Geneva." Misunderstanding? Sarah's voice remained perfectly level, but something in her tone made several delegates lean back in their seats. "Is that what we're calling the complete orbital bombardment of 3 million innocent civilians now? How delightfully euphemistic." The air in the chamber seemed to thicken. Sarah reached into her diplomatic pouch and withdrew a small holographic projector. The device hummed to life, casting images above the center chamber. Images of children playing in parks, families sharing meals, students graduating from universities. "These were the people of New Geneva," Sarah said, her voice carrying clearly to every corner of the vast space. "Farmers, teachers, engineers, artists. They posed no threat to anyone. Their only crime was existing in a solar system that the hegemony wanted for its mineral resources." Counselor Zara, the hegemony's primary representative, rose from her seat. Her forearms gesticulated dramatically as she spoke. The human settlement was illegal according to Galactic Law 7749B. They had no right to that system. "Galactic Law 7749B," Sarah repeated slowly, as if tasting something bitter. "The law that was passed 3 months ago, specifically targeting human expansion. The law that was voted on while humanity's council seat was conveniently declared under investigation for fabricated charges. That law..." "The charges were not fabricated," Vex hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. "Humanity has been increasingly aggressive in their territorial claims." Sarah's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. "Aggressive? We asked permission to settle an uninhabited system. We followed every protocol, filed every form, waited 18 months for approval. When that approval was denied based on a law that didn't exist when we applied, we respectfully requested a hearing. When that hearing was postponed indefinitely, we proceeded with the settlement anyway, because 3 million people needed homes." She gestured to the holographic images, which now showed the colony's construction. Careful environmental protections, sustainable energy systems, minimal impact on the local ecosystem. "We were so aggressive that we spent 2 years conducting environmental impact studies to make sure we wouldn't disturb the local wildlife. Truly, we are monsters." The sarcasm in her voice was thick enough to be weaponized. Several of the smaller species representatives actually flinched. "The point remains," Brack interrupted, "that the settlement violated council authority. The hegemony had every right to respond." "With orbital bombardment?" Sarah's voice rose for the first time, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. "They didn't send a cease and desist order. They didn't attempt negotiation. They didn't even send a warning. 3 hegemony dreadnoughts dropped out of hyperspace and began firing on civilian targets within 10 minutes of arrival." The holographic display shifted, showing the attack. Peaceful cities turned to ash in seconds. Farms obliterated. The colony's single defensive platform, designed primarily to deflect asteroids, destroyed before it could even power up its shields. The human military wasn't even present, Sarah continued, her words coming faster now, like pressure building behind a dam. Our nearest warship was 6 systems away. This wasn't a military action. This was extermination. Now see here. Counselor Wren chirped from her perch, her avian features ruffled with indignation. The hegemony has been a valued member of this council for over 2 millennia. Their methods may seem harsh, but order must be maintained. Sarah turned her gaze on Wren, and the bird-like alien actually took a step backward. Order? You want to talk about order? Let me tell you about the order humanity has maintained for the past 50 years, since we joined this august body. She began pacing now, her movements predatory and precise. When the Vindari were facing extinction from the Crimson Plague, who developed the cure and distributed it freely. When the Calanthan home system star began dying prematurely, who provided the stellar engineering technology to save 8 billion lives. When the Nexus pirates were raiding trade routes, who volunteered their fleet to protect neutral shipping. With each question, Sarah's voice grew harder, more pointed. Humans, always humans. We've been the Council's emergency response team, its charity organization, its peacekeeping force. We bled for species we'd never met, spent fortunes we couldn't afford, sacrificed our own development to help others. And this is how you repay us. She gestured sharply at the still hovering images of New Geneva's destruction. You change the laws to target us specifically, then commit genocide when we dare to question your authority. The chamber had fallen completely silent except for the soft hum of environmental systems. Even the usually chattering Pixari delegation sat in stunned quiet. Counselor Vex slithered forward slightly. Your emotional outburst is precisely why humanity should not have a voice in galactic affairs. You are too unstable, too violent, too unpredictable. Sarah stopped pacing. For a long moment, she simply stared at Vex, and something in her expression made the serpentine alien scales ripple with unease. Too violent? She asked quietly. Counselor Vex, in the 50 years since humanity joined this council, how many wars have we started? That's hardly relevant to. How many wars, Counselor? Well, that is to say, 0, Sarah said, her voice cutting through his stammering like a blade. 0 wars started. In fact, we prevented 17 conflicts through mediation, ended 32 through negotiation, and resolved countless trade disputes through compromise. But please, tell me more about our violence. She turned to address the full chamber, her voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. You want to know what humanity's real crime is? We made you all look bad. While the hegemony was conquering primitive worlds, we were helping them develop. While the Nexri were hoarding resources, we were sharing technology. While the Valdris were enslaving lesser species, we were liberating them. Your very existence became an embarrassment to the old ways, so you decided to eliminate the problem. Not through competition, not through innovation, but through the same old tired method that's been used for millennia. Her smile was sharp enough to draw blood. Genocide. You dare accuse this council of genocide? Zara screeched, all 4 of her arms waving frantically. We are civilized beings. We follow protocols. We maintain order. 3 million dead civilians in under 4 hours, Sarah replied calmly. What would you call it? Urban renewal? The tension in the chamber was now thick enough to choke on. Representatives were looking nervously at one another, uncertain how to proceed. This wasn't going according to script. The matter is closed, Vex declared with false authority. The illegal settlement has been removed and order is restored. Humanity will be compensated for any legitimate losses according to standard protocols. Sarah reached into her diplomatic pouch again, withdrawing a second device. This one was smaller, more innocuous looking. She placed it carefully on the speaking podium in front of her. Counselor Vex, she said, her voice now carrying an odd, almost casual tone that somehow made it infinitely more terrifying. Before we discuss compensation, I think the council should see something interesting. The device activated, projecting a new hologram into the center of the chamber. This one showed the bridge of Hegemony Dreadnought during the attack on New Geneva. This is from the bridge recorder of the HSV Dominator, flagship of the Strike Force. Sarah explained conversationally. Amazing what you can recover from wreckage when you know where to look. The recording played. The bridge crew going about their duties with calm efficiency. Targeting systems locking onto civilian structures. Weapons officers asking for confirmation. And then, clear as starlight, the voice of Admiral KYTH. Begin bombardment of all population centers. I want nothing left alive down there. The Council wants a message sent about the price of defying galactic authority. Make sure it's loud enough for everyone to hear. The silence that followed could have powered a small star. Interesting phrasing, Sarah mused, studying her fingernails with apparent fascination. The Council wants a message sent, not the hegemony. The Council. Every eye in the chamber was now fixed on the recording as it continued. Admiral KYTH laughing as civilian evacuation ships were targeted. Officers joking about pest control and cleaning house. The casual, methodical nature of the slaughter laid bare for all to see. Turn it off, Vex hissed, but his voice cracked with panic. Why? Sarah asked innocently. I thought you said this was all perfectly legal and justified. Surely there's nothing to be ashamed of. The recording reached its climax as the Admiral received a communication from someone off-screen. Yes, Counselor Vex. The colony is completely destroyed. No survivors detected. Your orders have been carried out to the letter. The hologram flickered and died. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah looked around the chamber, her expression pleasant and curious. Now, who was it that said this was just the hegemony acting independently? I seem to have forgotten. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The weight of the recorded evidence hung over them like an executioner's blade. You know what the truly fascinating part is? Sarah continued, her tone still conversational. For 50 years, humanity has played by your rules. We've been polite, patient, understanding. We've accepted your condescension, your prejudice, your casual dismissal of our contributions to galactic civilization. She began walking slowly around the chamber's perimeter, forcing the delegates to turn to follow her movement. We've smiled and nodded when you've taken credit for our innovations. We've remained diplomatic when you blocked our legitimate expansion. We've even forgiven you for the 7 previous colonies you've accidentally destroyed through bureaucratic delays and convenient oversights. Her voice was getting quieter now, but somehow more menacing for it. But you made one critical error in your calculations. She stopped directly in front of Counselor Vex, close enough that he could feel her breath on his scales. You assumed our politeness was weakened. When humanity's gloves come off, the silence stretched on for what felt like eternity. Sarah Chen stood motionless in front of Counselor Vex, her calm demeanor more terrifying than any display of rage could have been. The serpentine alien scales had turned a sickly yellow color, and his forked tongue flicked nervously in and out of his mouth. You see, Sarah continued, her voice barely above a whisper, humanity has been conducting a fascinating social experiment for the past 5 decades. We wanted to see if civilization was actually possible, if different species could coexist peacefully, share resources, solve problems together like rational beings. She turned away from Vex and addressed the chamber at large, her hands clasped behind her back like a teacher delivering a lecture to particularly slow students. The results have been quite educational. Without warning, every screen in the chamber flickered to life. Star charts appeared, showing shipping lanes, trade routes, military positions. Real-time data streams cascaded across the displays, painting a picture of galactic civilization that made several delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. Computer, display tactical overview Omega-7, Sarah said calmly. A 3-dimensional map materialized in the center of the chamber, showing the current position of every major fleet in known space. The delegates gasped collectively as they realized what they were seeing. Red dots marked hegemony positions. Blue showed Council enforcement fleets. Green indicated neutral trading vessels. And everywhere, like golden threads connecting every system, were unmarked ships displaying no transponder codes. For those of you wondering, Sarah said conversationally, the unmarked vessels are human ships. Specifically, human ships that have been carefully positioned over the past 20 years during our various humanitarian missions. Counselor Brack's stone-like features cracked with what might have been surprise. Impossible. We track all military movements through Council space. Sarah's laugh was genuinely delighted. Military movements. Yes, but you've never bothered tracking supply ships, medical vessels, research platforms, or merchant freighters. Why would you? They're just harmless humans doing their boring human things. The tactical display zoomed in on the hegemony home system. 12 unmarked contacts surrounded the planet, previously invisible to all sensors. The thing about humans, Counselor Brack, is that we're very good at multitasking. While we were delivering medical supplies to plague victims, we were also mapping defense networks. While we were providing disaster relief, we were cataloging military installations. While we were mediating trade disputes, we were analyzing economic vulnerabilities. The color drained from Zara's 4 faces simultaneously. You've been spying on us for decades. Spying? Sarah tilted her head with mock confusion. That's such an ugly word. We prefer to call it comprehensive diplomatic intelligence gathering. After all, how can we effectively negotiate if we don't understand your capabilities and limitations? The tactical display shifted to show economic data. Trade flows, resource dependencies, manufacturing capabilities, all laid out in stark mathematical detail. The interconnected web of galactic commerce revealed itself to be far more fragile than anyone had realized. Did you know, Sarah mused, studying the display with academic interest, that 67% of all interstellar shipping relies on human-manufactured jump drives? Or that 43% of all medical supplies are produced in human facilities? Or that 81% of all communications between non-adjacent systems are routed through human relay stations? The implications hit the chamber like a physical blow. Delegates began frantically whispering to their aides, making rapid calculations. Of course, we've been very careful to make these dependencies seem natural, gradual, economically beneficial, Sarah continued. We offer the best prices, the most reliable service, the highest quality products. Pure capitalism at work. Nothing sinister about it all. She gestured the display, and it zoomed out to show the entire galaxy. The golden threads of human influence were everywhere, connecting every major civilization, every trade route, every critical system. The beautiful thing about soft power is that it's nearly invisible until it's too late to do anything about it. You've been so focused on military strength and political maneuvering that you never noticed we were quietly making ourselves indispensable. Counselor Wren's voice came out as a strangled chirp. What do you want? Sarah's smile could have powered a small city. Want? Oh, Counselor Wren, you misunderstand completely. This isn't about what we want. This is about what we're going to do. She walked back to the center of the chamber, her heels clicking with mechanical precision on the obsidian floor. Computer, initiate Protocol 77 Alpha. Protocol 77 Alpha confirmed, replied a pleasant synthetic voice. All human assets are now switching to autonomous operation mode. Estimated implementation time, for minutes 37 seconds. The chamber erupted in panic. Delegates shouted questions, aides scrambled for communication devices, and several of the smaller species representatives began openly weeping. What have you done? Vex screamed, his composure finally cracking completely. What have I done? Sarah's voice cut through the chaos like a laser beam. I've turned off humanity's polite mode. The tactical display, updated in real time as human ships throughout the galaxy, suddenly became visible to sensors. Not just the ones that have been hidden, but thousands more that have been operating under false transponder codes or civilian cover identities. Every supply ship that's been delivering goods to your worlds is now under human military control. Every medical facility we've established is now a forward operating base. Every communications relay we've installed is now part of our strategic network. The scope of it was staggering. Centuries of careful planning and patient positioning had created a web of influence that touched every corner of civilized space. But surely, Brack rumbled desperately, you cannot manage such an operation. The logistics alone. Computer, display current human population statistics, Sarah requested politely. New numbers appeared on the screens. The delegate stared in stunned silence as the data revealed. She paused, letting the implications sink in fully. But that would make us just like you. And we're not like you. We're better than that. Sarah walked back to the center of the chamber, and the tactical display shifted to show something new. Construction projects, terraforming operations, scientific research stations, humanitarian aid missions. While you've been playing your petty political games and committing genocide for profit, we've been building something beautiful, a real civilization, one based on cooperation instead of domination, on growth instead of conquest, on helping each other instead of stepping on each other. The images showed human colonies working alongside alien refugees, integrated communities where dozens of species lived and worked together, joint research projects pushing the boundaries of science and technology. This is what we're offering you, Sarah said, her voice warm with genuine emotion for the first time since entering the chamber. Not conquest, not revenge, partnership. She gestured, and the display showed a new star chart. Clean borders, rational resource distribution, protected trade lanes, cooperative defense agreements. A new galactic order. One where conflicts are resolved through mediation instead of warfare. Where resources are shared based on need instead of political influence. Where every species has a voice and every world has protection. And if we refuse? Vex asked weakly. Sarah's smile returned, bright and sharp and absolutely unyielding. Then you'll discover what it's like to live in a galaxy where humanity stops being polite. The display shifted one final time, showing economic projections. Without human participation, galactic civilization would collapse within months. Trade would cease, communications would fail, and most worlds would revert to pre-industrial technology levels. The choice is yours, honored counselors. You can join us in building something better, or you can try to maintain your old system without the foundation that's been holding it up for the past 50 years. Sarah began gathering her materials, packing them away with the same calm efficiency she displayed throughout the entire confrontation. Oh, and regarding compensation for the new Geneva colony, she added casually, not looking up from her packing, the hegemony will be providing full restoration funding, plus damages, plus reparations to the families of the victims. The total comes to approximately 700 billion galactic standard credits. Zara sputtered in outrage. We don't have that kind of money. Then I suggest you find it, Sarah replied sweetly. Because if payment isn't received within 30 standard days, we'll be forced to begin asset seizure operations. And trust me, our collection methods are very thorough. She finished packing and headed toward the chamber doors, her footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. The vote on the new galactic charter will be held in 30 days, she announced without turning around. I strongly recommend you all vote yes, for your own sake. As the doors closed behind her, the chamber erupted in chaos. But Sarah Chen was already gone, walking toward a future where humanity would never again have pretend that politeness was the same as weakness. Behind her, the Galactic Council began the painful process of learning what it truly meant to negotiate with humans who had finally stopped pretending to be harmless. The age of humanity being the galaxy's willing victim was over. The age of humanity being the galaxy's benevolent guardian had begun, and the universe would never be the same.